ASMR Magical Tools. Aries, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is for Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising, and any other placements you're curious about this week. I'm going to be using this beautiful geode half for scrying. It's got a lot of different bumps and inclusions and things. Aries, you're going to have to go back. I'm hearing something about going back and fixing the bath mat. So I don't know if you cleaned the bathroom and then you left the bath mat out, or if there is a situation where it's like that like you go in the bathroom and you take care of your own hygiene things, and then you realize you have to go back and like flush the toilet, or you have to go back and fix the bath mat, kind of a deal. That it's not that big of a deal, but it's just like fixing the little details of these things and subscribing to, yes, I appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, but that's not what I'm getting at. Back in the day, like in the olden days of the 1980s and 90s, people used to subscribe regularly to magazines, like National Geographic's back here, of course, but also things like 17 and Women's Wear Daily and like Vogue and stuff like that, right? And the idea of subscribing to these magazines is that you are investing in the lifestyle being promoted by that particular periodical. And so this particular lifestyle that you're subscribing to, I feel like still comes in the mail, but rather than having a subscription to this magazine, you might have a subscription to like a I'm not sponsored by any of these people, but like one of those subscription boxes that they send you something every month, and or like on a quarterly basis or something, and it's got all these like things in it, beauty supplies, or it could be like a loot crate of some kind for gaming or some other thing like that you have this subscription service. And this is related how you have to go in and tweak your settings, because I think you've started to get stuff that you're not using. So maybe you need to like decrease the frequency, or you need to change what it is that they're sending you, because I feel like that is very much tied into this same thing of like fixing the bath mat. There's adjustments going on in your life, Aries, and so it could be like adjusting the bath mat, or remembering to flush the toilet when you leave the bathroom, or like this subscription box, like tweaking your settings on the subscription box. And this could be a big deal for you, because if you end up getting things that you're actually using more often and they're just getting delivered to your house, that could end up being like very useful to you and a big game changer in the long run. Okay, Aries. If you would direct your questions here into the cover of the book. Aries. Wish not for the death of thy kinsman, that thou mayest inherit his worldly goods. I mean, that's always a good piece of advice. Don't wish that people would die so that you can have what they have. And in a broader sense, don't envy the position of others or covet. I think it's more about covet than envy in this case. You shouldn't covet what other people have. You should strive for your own. Because really, like, it's very unhealthy to compare yourself to other people. And I'm just as guilty of it as everyone else. But I'm trying very hard to be much more aware about it. Because it can be a very detrimental habit to you. Aries, thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this reading, please let me know down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Taurus. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is for Taurus. Sun, Moon, Rising, and any other Taurus placements you're curious about for the week ahead. I'm using this geode half for the scrying this week. Taurus, it's like you're in a cave made up of your own emotions, your own emotional strengths. You've constructed this cave out of your own emotional strengths, and you've taken refuge deep inside of this cave of your own emotions. And it's getting more and more difficult to leave, even though this cave is a little bit damp and slimy. Of course, you could throw in things about the allegory of the cave here too, where people might bring you news from the outside. But remember that an image projected on the wall is not equivalent to that item actually being there. So people might be projecting these emotions towards you, and it could be that these are positive emotions. Projection doesn't always have to be a negative emotion, but if there's not a reciprocity, and if the emotion isn't actually reaching you, if it's just this projection of this emotion, there's a difference between someone texting you like, hey, love you, miss you, and actually like making contact with you to try to hang out, and like you guys making actual plans. And it's kind of a twofold thing, where like if you are already withdrawing from others, that they might not be as inclined to reach out to you, but also that they might respect your privacy and want to allow you to have your own personal time. So, and you might not even realize, because the thing about this cave and the allegory of Plato's cave in general is that you don't realize that those things are not there in your life because they're projected there. Does that make sense? Comment down below if you have a full understanding of Plato's allegory of the cave. Let me know if I've done it justice here. Anyway, Taurus, so that's the thing, is that it's very healthy to get sunlight and fresh air on your skin. The kids call it touching grass, right? But you might need to structure that into your overall existence, because I think overall this cave is a healthy place to be, and it is very comfortable, but it's also damp and a little bit slimy and cold, and you're not going to get sufficient vitamin D processing while you're in there, and the air is a little miasmic and you might develop breathing issues. So it's important for you to come out into the light and recognize the world around you as it actually is. Alright, Taurus, and if you would, just direct your questions here into the cover of this book. And I'm just going to take them and I'm going to put them into the book. Just going to tuck them inside the book here. Okay, yeah, I think that's enough, don't you? Alright. The good deeds of the virtuous only will be held in esteem by posterity. And I actually have a personal anecdote relating to this. So, there was an incident the other day where I was out with my spouse, and we weren't having like the best interactions. He was having a great time, but I didn't realize that. And then something happened, and he had to bring my attention to something, and it ended up really saving all of our existences. But it was very flustering for me. And by the time that we got home, he really wanted credit for that one part of that situation, even though I had thought the whole time that he was very cross with me and that it was stressing me out. He was actually having a great time, but we weren't communicating well. Anyway, so the point of this story being that he really wanted credit for that one thing. And it wasn't even related to, he wanted credit for not being in a bad mood, basically. And so, the way that things are remembered is not nuanced, because nuance cannot be translated across groups and across time and across distance. The nuance of these situations is lost, and we are left with the black and white photocopy. The black and white photocopy of what happened, which is not a very accurate representation and leaves out people's motivations and what they were thinking at the time and why they did what they did. So just remember that bad people also end up doing good things, but they're not remembered as such because that person did a lot of awful things too. And in a lot of cases, good people do bad things. Even though they might have promoted very good things in this world, they might have been monsters in their personal lives. But that part also is not remembered, because most people remember what they did for the whole rather than what they did for the few. Alright, Taurus, well, thank you so much for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this reading, please let me know down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Gemini. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, welcome back. This is for Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising, and any other Gemini placements that you are curious about for the week ahead. Like, for example, I've been very focused on my North Node in Gemini lately. And I will be using this geode. I love this geode because the outside is just as interesting as the inside, and you can kind of see the places like here where it has these nodules on it, that inside there are like dark places where it goes all the way through. I really love that. Gemini. Is this out of sorts or sorting? I'm getting this idea of both. Like there's out of sorts, sorting the things that make you out of sorts, and dividing the good things from the bad things, dividing your household expenses also. That if you live with another person, you could be re-establishing the division of how you want to divide the household expenses. So that might be what's going on for some of you this week. And I mean, this could also, for some of you, if you're involved in like a paternity dispute or something like that, this is going to translate into that situation. But obviously, not everybody who's watching this video is going to be going through a paternity dispute this week. But that's fine. That happens to people. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. I'm looking out for, like I'm on the coast, right? And there's like these, and I'm on the, pier, or like the docks where people park their personal boats, and there's like little yachts and schooners, those kind of like small boats, not quite as big as yachts. And I apologize, people are making noise out in the courtyard. I hope it wasn't super loud. But people have their boats parked here, and I'm looking for a specific boat with a specific name, and the name is something like Runner's Quest, or like something quest, somebody's quest. And the thing about this boat is it's like a houseboat. It's like a smaller kind of a schooner, I think. It's one of those boats that might have like a little sleeping quarters underneath, but then they have like a sail and a small deck, and the boat itself is maybe like 20 feet max. It's probably closer to like 12 to 15 feet long. And I think that's called a schooner. Please let me know in the comments. I don't know very much about boats. Anyway, so this is like we're talking about Bobby's Quest or Runner's Quest or something like that. And the deal about this boat is that the way the sail and the way the prow of the ship cuts through the water and the air. So we have water elements here, we have air elements here, and the way that those two things like cut through and take you to your destination, take you to where you want to go, and that you might be going on a journey for pleasure. But because this is like a leisure craft, so this is not like you are getting on a boat because you're taking like a trans-oceanic journey. This is like you're taking a boat and you might go like around the quay and then like come back and dock your boat again. You might go somewhere and eat dinner in the meantime. You might, but it's the idea that to get the proper enjoyment out of your life, it's important So we're also bringing in this swords court card energy, like the Knight of Swords is what I'm getting specifically. Not the Page of Swords. This would be like much more swift moving. And actually, more like the Prince of Swords. When we're looking at the, they have the Prince of Swords in certain decks, but I'm thinking specifically of the way that the Prince of Swords is described in the Tarot of the Golden Dawn. I do have a video about that on this channel, but I also invite you to look up Liberty and find out more about the Tarot of the Golden Dawn and the way that they used that symbolism. So we're looking more at like the prince from that deck, because that is air energy. Air of water energy would be more like the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords. But in this case, we're looking at air of air energy, really pushing that boat through the water with that sail. And that sail being the divine intelligence that is going to guide you. Now, because we are on the water, this could be also about conjunction of divine masculine and divine feminine, and talking about romantic relationships, especially because I did hear something about a paternity case, but obviously not all of you are going to be going through a paternity dispute, and not all of you are going to be applying this to romantic relationships. Alright, Gemini, now if you would, I'm going to take your questions and put them into my book here. And one more. Yeah. Doubt it not. But I'm going to give you another one too, because that one just popped out at me, but it's really short. Thou shalt receive proofs that thou art beloved. So, don't just infer either. Part of this cutting process is going to be understanding that people do love you, and then there are people who really could care less. There's going to be people who hate you too, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. Really focus your energies on those who love you. They will make it quite obvious. Thank you for joining me, Gemini. If you enjoyed this reading, please let me know down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Cancer. Hello, Cancer. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is for Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, and any other Cancer placements that you might be curious about for the week ahead. I'm going to be using this geode for my scrying this week. Cancer. I'm hearing something about the end of days. Now, this could be in the context of a judgment type situation where we have the judgment card related to the rapture or to Judgment Day or any of these biblical nose was itchy. But I feel like this is related to a specific situation in your own personal life that is coming to a close for you. So this could be that you're quitting a job. This could be moving out of a place. This could be ending a relationship. It's something, it could just be ending a bad habit. All of these things would apply. But there's some idea that you're like, there's this calendar and you're marking off the days before this is supposed to occur. Now, remember that there have been many cults, there have been many religious leaders, there have been all kinds of people throughout the ages who have prophesied the end of time. And so far, none of their predictions have come true. It's less likely that we would see a finite and definite end of days, and it is much more likely that we would see catastrophic events that would push the trajectory of humankind off in a completely different direction, right? And this also is the case for you. If you are waiting until a certain day passes to make this change and not kind of making it gradually leading up to this particular day, it's much less likely that it's going to be a lasting change in your life, and much more likely that you are going to be kind of trapped in this cycle of trying to quit and then trying to quit again, and then one more time, maybe this time with feeling, I'm gonna try to quit this one more time. So my advice to you is not to treat it like this finite date when everything gets worked out. It's more like there's a period in which you change that particular behavior or thing. Even if you are doing something like moving or quitting a job, there are things that you can do to prepare for that. And it's not like this finite idea of this finite date. I have to be moved out by this date. If you've already got all your stuff out of the house, then that date no longer matters. Right? You go ahead and you move on with your life and you make the changes that you want to make. And then whatever that date represents loses all meaning because you've already moved on. So that's my advice for this particular period. But I guess my final thought being, rather than having this finite date where everything stops, think of it as a date when the trajectory changes. The trajectory changes drastically, and you end up on a completely new path, your new beginning. Alright, Cancer, so now I'm going to take your questions and I'm going to put them here in my book. Alright, perfect. You're doing a great job. Thy partner will not be handsome, but there will be no other cause for dislike. So, the solution to your problem might not be pretty, but it will work, and that's what's important. thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this reading, please let me know down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Leo, 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 welcome back. Some of you might still be celebrating solar returns this week, and to you, I would like to wish you a very happy birthday, very happy birthday. The sun will also be entering Virgo on Sunday, August 22nd. Leo, the stone that I am using for the scrying this week is this half of a geode, and I really like this stone because it's got, the outside is very detailed, and it has all these like little brainy kind of bumps. Leo, when you were born, your destiny was already laid out for you in many ways. But there's always room for changes, okay? So, there are some things that are more avoidable than others. Some things are more than likely going to happen, especially if you see them over and over and over and over again, projected into your mind as you live and grow and change. But these people who come into your life, you might recognize people who come into your life from dreams sometimes, or somebody might look extra familiar, or there might be something about them that you understand when you meet somebody what purpose they're going to have in your life, and vice versa. So there are things like that that happen. There are also things which could happen, but it's going to take work. It's going to take work to make it happen. Even if you've already seen that it is possible. And I trust you to know the difference, of course, because this is a general reading, general reading, general reading. But this week ahead, I'm hearing something about the cake. So, you might be like, I want cake, I want cake, I want cake. And you get a chocolate cake and you're like, well, I'm not crazy about chocolate cake. Or fondant, like that fondant icing. I think it's really gross. But if I really wanted cake, I would probably eat a cake that had chocolate fondant on it, or had fondant icing. Would I prefer that it was like a marzipan icing or a buttercream or something like that? Yes, of course. But marzipan has kind of a gritty texture, and fondant is very smooth, and I think that's why they use fondant instead of marzipan. So there are reasons that these things are put together the way that they are. And rather than being super picky about the flavor of the cake, I invite you this week to understand that it's the cake you've been asking for. And this does have to do with a fated situation, so you might have thought that it was going to look different. You might have seen things lining up and not understood. You're like, well, I saw this sign, but I didn't see the events that followed, or I saw this sign and then I didn't see the events that followed, right? But that's not how it works. You might have implanted a false memory that that's how it works because things have played out in the past, and it's possible that things played out so quickly that you were only seeing the signs and you weren't seeing along the way how that particular trajectory was different from what you had envisioned in your mind's eye. But when things play out more slowly, you see the signs, but you don't understand why you're not already in Las Vegas, right? And so this week it's going to be very similar, that the signs are there. The signs are in the same place. But that you are not going to recognize the road that you're on in the meantime, because it's going to take longer to get there. Or rather, because it has taken longer to get there. Because you might be very, very close indeed this week. Alright, Leos, now I'm going to take your questions and I'm going to put them inside the book here. So if you would. Thank you. Cake. Oh. If a man protesteth, never ceasing friendship for thee, at least doubt his sincerity. It's similar to that Shakespearean saying, the lady doth protest too much. That people who feel the need to constantly reaffirm their undying support for you are also not involving you in the investment of their existence. So just be mindful, because they might be very vociferous of their support of you, and then all of a sudden one day you turn around and they're just not there, and it might be when you need them the most. So just be mindful of that, Leos. This has to do with yes men too. Somebody who's not able to have a discussion with you about what actually is the truth and what actually needs to be done is not a true supporter. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this reading, please let me know down in the comments section. Happy birthday to my Leo sun signs who are experiencing a solar return this week. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello Virgo, hello Virgo, hello Virgo. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Some of my Virgo sun signs might be having a birthday on Sunday. If you happen to have a birthday on Sunday and you end up watching this video, I wish you a very happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. This is for Virgo sun, moon, rising, and any other Virgo placements you are curious about for the week ahead. We do have some planets in Virgo still using this week is this geode half. And I love this stone because it's got these it's got a very interesting shape and lots of little nodes and nodules on the outside. Nodes and nodules, nodes and nodules. Virgo, have we given any thought to the wind passing? When I say the wind passing, I don't just mean the wind changing. I mean, like watching the weather vane. I mean, like, how is the weather? I mean, like, are you paying attention to what storms are coming through your area? Like, I'm hearing that meme, honey, you've got a big storm coming. That you might be ignoring some of these external forces of nature at this time, and that it's very important for you to make yourself more informed about what the weather is supposed to be like tomorrow, and what the surf report is, what the fishing report is, maybe what time is sunrise, what time is sunset. These things might, if you integrate that into your life, it might benefit you in the long term. Now, is anything horrible going to happen to you if you don't pay attention to these things? Not necessarily, but this is an extension of situational awareness. This is an extension of how you are putting yourself out there into situations. And so the issue is a larger one of your own ability to gauge what is going on around you at any given time. You certainly don't want to be planning down to the very last little detail. But there's a happy medium there in which you can find out which way the weather's blowing, or which way the wind is blowing, rather. Like your finger, and put it up in the air, and the side of your finger that gets cold is the way that the wind is blowing. And being aware of your cardinal directions. If you're trying to light something and you're outside, for example, trying to light it directly into the wind without screening your fire source is going to be pretty impossible. If there's like a little spittle of rain coming down, that's going to affect your ability to make a campfire. So all of these things are issues that you want to be aware of going into these situations. And Virgo, I'm going to collect your questions now, and I'm going to put them into the book. And don't worry, whenever I stop the video, I dump all of the previous questions out from the previous signs, so they're not just accumulating here on the pages and making my book all sticky. I just wanted you to know that. Leave no means untried to detect the thief. So again, we're looking at your environment, looking for clues. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a thief, like somebody stole something from you. The thief could be something that's stealing your time, something that is stressing you out, thereby stealing your happiness. This could be a person who just means you ill or doesn't mean you well enough to trust them. Somebody whose motivations are very different from yours can also be a thief of your peace of mind and your sanity. So just be aware of these things. Be aware of the environmental factors. Keep your ear to the ground. You know, you can hear elephants coming from miles and miles away because they create these such low rumbling frequencies. If you put your ear to the ground, you can hear which direction they are coming from. Alright, Virgo. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this reading, please let me know down in the comments section. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Libra, 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 Libra. Welcome back. Welcome back, Libra. Welcome back. This is for Libra, Sun, Moon, Rising, and any other Libra placements you are curious about for the week ahead. For example, Venus is moving into the sign of Libra this week. So, if you have a Venus in Libra or any other placements, you can watch this segment to find out about that section of your life, what that planet represents in the sign of Libra. The stone that I am using this week is actually a geode, and I love the way that it looks on the outside, and you can see the little glittery pieces of crystal on the inside too. It looks a little bit like the surface of the brain. Libra. Someone has invited you to take a trip down into the catacombs at night, haven't they? This is something which could be very dangerous, especially because your companion seems a little devil-may-care, a little ill-prepared, perhaps. Somebody who, they might have been in the catacombs a couple of times before, but they're not super familiar with the ins and outs. I feel like perhaps even you are supposed to meet up with somebody who is much more experienced, but that you don't necessarily know them personally, and thus cannot gauge whether or not they are a trustworthy companion in this case. But it's all gonna work out. There's a test, and it could go one of two ways, okay? One, this traveling down into the catacombs is a test for you, and you pass the test, and everything goes great. And something comes because of it, like you level up in some way. Excuse me, my tongue getting tied. The second thing that could happen is that you get a pop quiz. you find out that there's a test you have to take. Like, I have a drug test the next day. I cannot go down into the catacombs with you. Or I have like a certification test that I need to take the next day. And therefore, you end up not being able to go down into the catacombs. But it's going to be either one of those situations. It will not be both simultaneously. It's going to be one or the other. Either a test takes you away from this venture, or this test is the venture and you end up coming through it with flying colors. Coming through it with flying colors. And this is important for the week ahead for you, Libra. Because it might not be like a night excursion necessarily, but it could be something that you are hesitant to do. And that perhaps there are people involved that you don't know, and you don't know if you can trust them, and it's the kind of situation that if you're getting into it, normally you would very much like to be able to trust everyone who's involved. So that is what you're looking at for the week ahead. And now, Libra, if you would direct your questions to me, and I'm going to put them inside of my book here. And don't worry, I always dump out all the old questions, so they're not just festering and they're getting all sticky. Shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Thou mayest write up. Shave for a penny, cut hair for 2 pence. So when you hear like that, let's see if I can. And then the other person is supposed to go. So there might be some kind of code that is in place between you and the other people on this expedition, something like that. It could also be that that is the energy that you've put out, that you are interested in becoming involved in a secret society. Thou mayest write up, so that you're kind of like hanging out your shingle, so to speak. Perhaps demonstrating your previous work. So this could be having to do with a new job situation. And in the mundane, it might look a lot less fascinating than I've described it here today. Anyhow, Libra, thank you so much for joining me this week. If you enjoyed your reading, please let me know down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Scorpio, 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 welcome back. Welcome back, Scorpio. This is for Sun, Moon, Rising, and any other Scorpio placements you are curious about for the week ahead. The stone I will be using for the scrying this week is this very fascinating geode I really like the outside because it looks very brain-like. Very brain-like. Scorpio. I'm hearing like trust in space, dust in space, and like getting the sense of like musty air. That some people have described the smell of space being kind of like raw meat. But that space, even though the environments which humans introduce to space, the environments that humans introduce to space are very sterilized, but space is not necessarily a sterile place. A sterile environment. Sterile. The moon, after all, is covered with dust. And we don't even know what kind of microorganisms might be festering on a planet like Jupiter or Venus. I guess the idea being that things can be yucky wherever you go. Wherever you end up, you might find something yucky. Trust in space, dust in space, musty in space. And it's a very infinite place. So there's a lot out there. There's the potential for things much more disgusting than what we have on Earth, if you can even imagine that. Yuck. But that, what you're going to be looking at this week is your own hygiene in relation to spatial issues, like how to keep yourself clean in space. And usually, humans are going up there in this hermetically sealed environment, right? But if you're not traveling into space using a spaceship, if you're traveling through space on the astral plane, there are things that you can pick up in space that can be very monstrous and yucky indeed. And so this is the idea of that hygiene. So, disinfecting oneself and appropriate ways of disinfecting oneself from the yucky things that you end up touching on the astral realm. Now, I have a Scorpio moon, and I feel like I've done quite a bit of this. But the further you get, the more you find. And you can always end up running into something that you have not encountered yet. And so, especially for someone like me who has a moon in Scorpio, but this is for Scorpio in general. So keep that in mind. But the moon in Scorpio uncovering things that are hidden. So I would want to be very mindful of this. There are lots of things that you can do here in the corporeal that purify and cleanse the self. But it might get to a point where you are having to do things in the astral also to protect yourself, to cleanse yourself in the astral. I know sometimes sometimes at the end of a dream, I'll end up like diving into a pool of water or going into a pool of water. And that can be a very purifying thing. I'm not necessarily a very proficient lucid dreamer, but I'm working on that more and more all the time. But anyway, enough about my personal experiences as a Scorpio moon individual. I'm going to take your questions, Scorpio, and I'm going to put them here into this book. It might have been a bit off, that question. A little overripe, perhaps, but that's okay. I won't get sick. If thou payest attention to all the departments of thy calling, a fortune awaits thee, greater than any treasure in the country in which thou residest. So, not just paying attention to your gifts, but the gifts which are carefully nested within your gifts, and honing those and practicing muscles that you haven't moved yet. Thank you for joining me, Scorpio. If you enjoyed this reading, please let me know down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Sagittarius, 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 welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and any other Sagittarius placements you are curious about for the week ahead. For the week ahead. The stone that I will be using for the crystal scrying this week is this very fascinating dark crystal looking geode. I love the outside of this. It's got all these like brain looking parts to it. And even these parts here kind of look like cow dung. Like when you see it in the pasture, all crusty and dried up. But I like that about this. It's very fascinating. Sagittarius, you look very lonely. Not that you don't have friends, but that there is a path you are walking right now that you are at the moment walking alone. Now, I don't think you're the only person on this path. I just think that you haven't run into anyone else yet who is walking the same path as you at this time. And it's a lonely feeling. Not that you're not capable of working independently. It's not like that. There's a little bit of forlorn, there's a little bit of lonely, and there's a little bit of a sense that none of my good friends could possibly understand what I'm going through at this time. This is a feeling that I have experienced before, and just want to express to you, Sagittarius, that one, it's not permanent. This is not going to be a permanent state of being for you, but you're a mutable sign. You already knew that. Two, you're not actually alone. There are many other people who are going through similar situations. And that's not to diminish the horror and the tragedy of your own particular situation, but to remind you that anytime you need to reach out to others for help, just because they aren't beside you on this very path, doesn't mean they haven't walked it before. And then the third is that I genuinely wish the best for you. And I hope that you will be feeling better very soon. And that third one is outside of the context of the reading. So, that's not me saying like, oh, I know when this is going to be over. I do think that you see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think that you're on this side of it. I think that you're over here, closer to your end goal, to the end of this particular path. And I just want you to know that it will not be much further. I one time heard in a chick tract that God doesn't give you more than he knows that you can carry. Now, I don't necessarily agree with everything I've ever seen in a chick tract, but I did think that was a very interesting and thought-provoking sentiment. That things are not imposed upon us which are too much for us to bear. There might not necessarily be a lesson here. I am not a moralistic type of spiritualist that I think that everything happens for a reason. There are way too many people in the world for that to be the case. The higher power is basically just watching ants run around on a pile of ice cream, right? If you ask for something, you definitely can receive it. But that your life is only as divinely guided as you desire it to be. But in the case of not having more put upon you than you are able to bear, the obvious is that if you have survived it thus far, and you only have a little bit further to go, it hasn't killed you yet. Is it really going to kill you in this last 5 meters or so that you have left to go? The probability of it being your ending, your undoing, decreases the closer you get to the finish line. Because this isn't necessarily like with a goal where your goal is to get better. Your goal is to improve your life. But it's not necessarily as much a quest for something as it is an endurance test away from danger or torment or illness or any of these other things. Sagittarius, if you would, please direct your questions to me and I will put them inside my book and then I will tell you what the book says. What's this? This is a receipt for the laundromat. Here, you're gonna need that. is a two-edged sword, which will assuredly smite thee if thou comest within its reach. So that doesn't just have to do with the legal system. It also has to do with natural law, with things like Murphy's Law. The second that you think of them, then they are going to have power over your life in some capacity. If you're like, this reminds me a lot of Murphy's Law or the law of threes, then you're going to be looking for that particular response. So, don't undo your good programming. Don't be overly superstitious. Any law that you allow into your life is going to have some power over you. And I'm not just talking about the legal system here. Like the threefold law, that all the energy that you put out there comes back to you threefold. Is that true? Where did you hear it? What's your source for that? Who originally said it? You know? So, only give it as much validity as you wish for it to have in your life. Sagittarius, thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this reading, please let me know down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Capricorn. My beautiful sea goats. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and any other Capricorn placements you are curious about for the week ahead. The stone that I will be using for scrying this week is this very interesting and multifaceted geode. And one thing I like about this stone is that the inside is just as interesting as the outside. Capricorn, welcome back. I'm seeing like a stage with like red curtains. The theater is empty, and I feel like you're getting ready for something. I'm sure a lot of you could be performers. There are many Capricorns who are musicians, actors, etc. And we can go more into another video why each individual astrological sign might be inclined to go into certain areas of work, but that's not what's important here. You're like walking toward this stage, but the lights are already on you. The lights are not on the stage, the lights are on you, but you're out in the audience, and nobody's there. It's just a bunch of empty seats. The balcony's dark. Don't worry about what's up in the balcony. We'll talk about that later. And you are walking toward the stage. It's one of those stages that is slanted so that the back is higher than the front, which helps when you are doing stage plays so that you can see all the action that's on the back of the stage and the set pieces and stuff like that. And you're walking up to the stage and you sit like right on the edge. I feel like there's, like you're between the lights, and that there's like this trim that's been put like on the edge of the stage because it's like difficult to like your pants, legs, and everything like is kind of rubbing on the fringe on the front of the stage, and it's kind of like a weird sensation. Anyway, so you're sitting on the front of this stage, and out in the middle of the audience, there's one person. And this one person is just clapping, just for you. It's almost like they're the one giving you the performance. And it's a performance just for you. And when they scream for you, it is as loud as an entire room full of people, an entire audience. So that the effect of this one person having their approval, having their praise, is better than having a whole auditorium full of audience. And you might know this person's name already. This person might be somebody who has not yet come into your life also. And that might be, I think that this week you are going to be finding the people who fit into that criteria. The people that it doesn't matter who else roots for you, who else is cheering for you. Because as long as those people or that one person is cheering for you, it's louder than an entire room of people. Alright, Capricorn, and now if you would for me please send me your questions, and I'm going to put them here into my book. Yes, thank you. This is from a fortune cookie. So the fortune teller has become the fortune receiver. Well, you know what I do with fortune cookie receipts. Alright, Capricorn. How did you know I was going to the beach? The scepter of power will be wrested from the conqueror. So, there's going to be quite a bit of role reversal, I feel like, for you in the week ahead. That this doesn't just have to do with finding your supporters, but also with there being certain aspects of this that are a reversal of your role with another person. That if you were the attendee, now they're going to be the attendee. And similar things like that. If they were the audience before, you're going to be the audience. And things like that. There's going to be a certain amount of reversal of roles here in the week ahead. Capricorn, thank you so much for joining me this week. If you enjoyed your fortune, please let me know down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Aquarius, 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 Aquarius. So, Aquarius has the benefit of being composed of hieroglyphics. representative of the life-giving waters of the Nile River. If you have some eyes in there, and I don't mean eyes, I mean like 2 little dashes, 2 little grains, then in the river. If you have 2 times 2 of those, and they are interspersed, then you have Nini. Homage to the Aquarius. This is for Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising signs. And then also for any other Aquarius placements you might be curious about for the week ahead. And the stone that I'm using this week is this incredibly complex and divine geode. Love how interesting it looks on the outside. A little bit like a brain. A little bit like a brain. Aquarius. It is a gift-giving season for you, and I'm not sure why. It could be that you are friends with somebody who is Leo sun sign, or the sun is going into Virgo on August 22nd, so if their birthday is on Sunday, maybe. But it could also be some kind of holiday for you. I'm not sure what kind of holiday it would be. It could just be an occasion in which you've decided to give gifts to your friends. That you and your friends have decided to exchange gifts at this time. And that it's particular to your friend group. But that is not... I just see like this gift-giving occasion, and it's like a gift exchange. There might even be like a white elephant or something like that, or a dirty Santa type thing. Sorry, I'm crossing my legs. Where you are like, like Secret Santa, you take a number or a name out of a hat, and so usually no 2 people end up buying presents for each other, but rather this person buys a present for this person who buys a present for this person over here, and they buy a present for this person, and then that person buys a present for like this person, that kind of a gift exchange type deal. And the idea behind it being like, I'm seeing a lot of like candles and crystals and like raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, that it doesn't have to be like a big thing. That the important thing is that it is something the person will enjoy. So, like a cassette tape, or it might even be a gift exchange that is based on things that you already own, so that there's not this outside investment going into it, but rather that people are gifting each other things which they enjoy already and want to pass along to someone else. I know there's like tape exchange type stuff too, where like people who make music and make their own cassette tapes will be part of a tape exchange, and then every month there's a different person and they like send out cassette tapes to the whole group. It could be something like that too, and it comes up that it's your month to send out tapes to everyone. But that's just an example. It's going to be something like that, Aquarius, for the week ahead. And boy, you really nailed it. Whatever the gift is that you end up getting or giving for or giving to whoever it is that you're giving it to, people are really going to enjoy it. It might even be baked goods for some of you that you have been entrusted with bringing a food item for people that you work with, or something like that. It could be something like that also, where you're bringing a food item and everyone really enjoys it. Alright, Aquarius, if you would direct your questions here into this book, and then I'm going to give you your answer. Oh, is this one of your... Oh, you made this? Yeah, I'm gonna eat it. That's really good. Oh my god, really? Yeah, I would eat these for breakfast every day. You would send me the recipe. Oh. That's really good. Thank you. Yeah, they're gonna love those. They really are. Alright, Aquarius. What is your answer? Be warned, from henceforth, never play for money, nor money's worth. So, like when you're taking part in games of chance, or doing things that are a bit of a gamble, try to avoid involving your financial resources or other resources. Give things that you are free to give, that it's not going to task you if you give it away and you get nothing in return. Aquarius, thank you so much for joining me for your fortune this week. If you enjoyed it, please let me know down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Pisces, 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 welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is for Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, and any other Pisces placements you are curious about for the week ahead. For example, that Neptune in Pisces placement. You might want to know more about what kind of things you should be doing to gain psychic attunement under this Neptune in Pisces placement. But it could also be placements in your chart. Just putting that out there. using for scrying this week is this geode. And I love this geode. It's very complex. The outside is just as entertaining as the inside. Pisces. You might have taken up cave dwelling. This is very similar to the Taurus reading, but the practices of the cave dwellers were such that they were using this cave for shelter and then going out during the day hunting animals like bison and mastodons or mammoths, whatever other large, slow-moving, bisons aren't exactly slow-moving. I mean, these large lumbering creatures that could feed many, many people from one carcass. And it might take you all day or even up to a week to really hunt a large creature like this in the time of cave dwelling. We didn't have bow and arrow, we had spears, we had sharpened sticks, and you could also chase these animals off of a cliff, but then you would have to butcher them at the bottom of the cliff and retrieve the meat, and that could be very hazardous. It was a very dangerous time to hunt large game. Nowadays, it's so easy to kill animals. You just go out there with a handgun practically and just pop them off, It's not the same. It's very much not the same. These hunter societies, there was a certain amount of gathering also of like berries and grasses and things like that, but so much of the nutrition for cave-dwelling people would have come from hunting large game. And I don't know if this is like completely factually correct. I'm not an archaeologist, but that's kind of what I'm getting coming through, is this idea that people in different times did things for different reasons. And the more people there are on the planet, the more advanced our civilization gets, the more useful tools, really, the more useful tools that we have at our disposal. That is what changes the dynamics of society. So that's something that people had to do like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and on back from there. Things that were a normal practice at that time fall out of favor for different reasons. Sometimes those mentalities are no longer valid. They're not based in what is the current reality. Now, I feel like for you, Pisces, at this particular time, there might have been a mentality from your past that you happened upon, perhaps through life experiences. You came to accept this as a truth, as an absolute in your life. And I think things are changing for you again, such that there are going to be things that you accepted as absolutes and truths in your life, which are no longer holding that space in your current existence, and that you are better to disabuse yourself of these things and not try to hold on to them, but recognize them when they come up kept you safe, for the times they kept you sane, and then allow them to pass on from your life. It is okay to acknowledge these things and to understand where the functionality was for you at times in the past and why that is no longer the case. Alright, Pisces, if you would please direct your questions here to the book and I will give you an answer. Okay? Oh, that's wet. I'm not gonna put that in there. You dry that off. Oh, this looks very juicy. Is it dry now? Okay. Alright. Good enough. Alright, Pisces. Thy vision portendeth that gifts will be made unto thee. Thy vision portendeth that gifts will be made unto thee. You know where gifts will be coming to you in the future. You can see them, and you can decide if those are things you want